is not little, plenty of it coming from the heart to all our acharyas, to all our masters, the divine, and to dearest Mohanji, who has given us this beautiful platform. What a way to connect. Sometimes you just sit back and think of all that he endlessly does to really improve or better ourselves. So today, I will be talking about how I met Mohanji, but before that, since my relationship with Mohanji and all the beautiful people working with him is fairly new, it just started in December, I will be talking a little about myself and perhaps my journey. So, I came from a middle-class family, mother, father, two older sisters. And my dad was kind of, he was a spiritual person, but I guess, when you are raising a family, that kind of gets put in the back burner. But when I retrace my steps back and go into childhood, and I think where I got this from, I don't have to go back too far. So mom was always the intuitive one with a green thumb, had the most beautiful kitchen garden. And dad was very well educated, an extremely well-read man. And we came from, originally from Kashmir, so Kashmiri Brahmins. And I remember the stories that dad used to tell us, but to be honest, I never really understood a lot. I mean, Kashmir was land to Kashmir Shaivism, and dad would talk about all the beautiful, the Kashmiri sages, like, Rabded and Lalded and Pandit Lakshmanju. But, I was too little to really kind of get a grip on it. And mom did a lot of, didn't go to the temple very often, but mom did a lot of puja at home, and there were a lot of fasting that she did. And as far as I remember, dad, we were taught to be very open to all religions. I remember going to one of the mazhars of a Baba, where in Bengal, I grew up in Bihar in Bengal, a long way from Kashmir. So I don't remember the Baba's name. So we went to his mazhar and he put on a green chadar, is what we call like a sheet. And then going to the gurdwaras and, I think it was dad's way of exposing and a great way of education to embrace, I guess, different religions. I never really talked to him. I was the youngest and I was more like his tail. So it kind of tagged along everywhere. And I remember dad, we used to have tantrics, like, they used to come to the house and they would be fed, or dad would take me and I would sit in the corner, and he was very curious, always asking questions. I remember this one, there was this bearded Baba and he was just wearing a loincloth. Dad was I was sitting in the corner. There were some idols there, and there was a thali full of fruits, and I was just looking at the fruit, but I was also picking up on what my father was asking. And he kept saying, no, but Baba like this, no, but Baba like that. And I was too young to kind of, really process whatever. But that came back to mind, and the curiosity, I guess, of him and his seeking as to who he was or what he was doing. Like I said, I was pretty young. So anyway, to bring to light who I was. As a child, I loved life. very playful. I used to enter the house from one door and then run out from the other. My mother could never keep track of me. I think I was more of a tomboy, but I loved nature, and I loved animals. Growing up, I remember I used to bring all the pregnant dogs home and make sure that they were provided a safe place for the dog to have her litter. And then I would make mom make food for them. It was mostly starch rice because mom said, the starch from the rice was very good to make milk for the pups. So then, cutting it short, I grew up with all this, and later on, I met my husband, who was in the merchant navy, and I got married very young. I decided to get married, and it was a very adventurous and a wonderful life in the sense there was so much learning, and there was, when I look back now in retrospect, phenomenal experiences. And sailing the high seas, we weathered the most terrible weather conditions, hurricanes. And I remember this one time, of course, I'd be puking my guts out, and my husband was a captain, and he would say, I'd put a bucket around your head and send you on deck for whatever, to get over the nausea. But I would look at the forecastle of the ship, which is the forward, I'm just using technical to kind of impress you guys, would be under the water. And these were like 12 feet waves washing all over the deck. But I remember the thoughts that went through my mind. I mean, I was in awe of nature. One felt so minuscule because I really saw the wrath of Mother Nature, experienced it not once, many times. And then I never did it externally. My heart would kind of bow down in complete awe and respect. And that I cherish those memories. And I think that had a lot to contribute towards my own spiritual growth. I also remember making a trip in Canada to see the Canadian Rockies, and I would look out of the car. There was a certain sense of eeriness, the power of those mountains. But it was like a nudge, Mother Nature. Love, respect, don't take her for granted, don't mess with her. So it stayed with me. And I know it did contribute towards my spiritual growth. So anyway, 94 January, we moved from India because of my husband's job to the United States, and we moved to Florida. 92 was my first trip to the Bihar School of Yoga, where I met Swami Niranjan, who became my guru. And a lot of this was initiated by my sister, who had already been visiting the ashram in Munger in Bihar. So, and that's when I was given my spiritual name, which was Purna Karma. And I think I've mentioned it before. I never really got the massiveness of that name, the enormity of that name. I didn't initially. Purna Karma. And Swamiji had to literally tell me, did you get it? And eventually I did. So I kind of stayed on that path off and on. And Moving to the United States was very, very tough, very hard on the children too, my boy and my girl. And it wasn't an easy transition because, it was not that they were, my son, both of them, daughter was just 12 plus and my son was already a teenager. So I was completely submerged in family life. And for a couple of years, everything, my spiritual path kind of went again on the back burner. It's very hard when you've made a transition. And I was like 37, 38 when I moved here. And so it wasn't easy. And I remember my daughter saying, I want to go back. So trying to manage, and plus my husband being in the shipping was traveling. And, in India too, I literally kind of raised my kids as a single parent. But coming back to what I was talking about. So for 4 years, I kind of completely didn't follow any yoga, nothing. Then in 96, when I went back to the ashram. And that is when I got initiated in what is called Jigyasu, the first step into sannyasa. And it's like a baby step, the first rung of the ladder. And then you take some vows. So coming back, I tried to, move along those lines of the vows that I had made, which are not very difficult because I always, that constant reminder of I'm a householder with, a whole lot of responsibilities. 2003, 2004, moved to Houston, and that move came with a lot of troubles. That was actually the onset of my most troubling period. One of my kids was going through a lot of health issues, and that kind of also moved into the area of the relationship, which started spiraling down, like literally spiraling down. And I was in a very, I don't like to use the word dark, but I was not in a good place at all. Not in a good place. And that's when I wrote to Swami Niranjan. And I almost had a breakdown. And he called me. He said, come to the ashram. Because Param Guru Swami Satyananda had started the Satchandi Yagya, which is an invocation of the Divine Mother. It's phenomenal. And it's basically a tantric ceremony, which a lot of people don't get to witness. And this was part of what is called a Rajsuya Yagna. And it is only done by kings. But Swami Satyanand had taken a vow to do that for 12 years. And special pandits from Benares would come down. And there was this chanting from the Durga Shakti. I've got goosebumps just talking about it. I can't even tell you, I don't think I have it in me to really express that energy field, because that was an invocation of getting the cosmic mother down. And oh my God, people were falling sick. But at the end of it, when you go back to wherever you came from, there's been so much cleansing, so much clarity. And that experience, I can feel it inside me right now while I'm talking about it. So let me just say it was a life changer, totally. And then, again, to cut it short, came another big event in my life. And why I'm saying this is because I can see all the connections, the dots, as I move along my journey. 2009, I went to Rikia, which is the other part of Bihar School of Yoga. Bihar School of Yoga is the yoga institution where you learn. And Rikya, once you've gone through that process of learning, Rikya is where Bari Swamiji used to be. You go there to be just be. Remember, Mohanji said, just being. So we went 2009. I signed up for the Kriya Yoga course, and then I think followed by the Kriya initiation. We just did one day. 5th December. Wow. That was the day Bade Guruji Swami Paramahamsa Satyananda took Samadhi. And I was there. Of course, you don't have access to that period when the great evolved soul is actually taking Samadhi. But again, oh my God, I was going crazy because I didn't know, I didn't understand what was happening till the morning, wee hours of the morning, when the whole ashram knew and we collected that to know that Bade Guruji had taken Samadhi. But then the whole process that followed, my feet were on the ground, but they were not on the ground. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. That stillness at the time that Guruji was actually going through the Samadhi, it was like everything had come to a standstill. I'm sorry, I keep looking at the little lamp. Everything had come to a standstill. And I was going nuts because I didn't know what was happening. I could feel it, the movement of energy outside. It was, nothing moved. It was so eerie. Till next morning. Once it was announced what had happened, and then suddenly it was like these birds came out from nowhere, and everybody, the birds were singing, and then we had the Gita chanting going on, and the breeze that was blowing. And later on, Swami Satsangi, who was the right hand of Swami Paramahansa Guruji, said that the divine, when a divine soul takes, an elevated divine soul takes Samadhi, and this is Mother Nature paying respect, and the birds are singing. There's so much one learned. And then Swami Satsangi said, I want to let you know that you didn't come here for Kriya Yoga. All the people who are here for the Samadhi have been, using any other reason, have been invited to witness this event. And friends, my jaw dropped open. I honestly didn't even understand what was going on. Till I went back home. I was there for the whole, everything that I don't want to take up too much time, whatever I witnessed, and taking darshan of Guruji, Paramahansa Guruji in his position of Samadhi. And when I went back home and I entered the house, my dad walked up to me and he gave me a hug. And I said, and then we sat down and he took my hand and he placed it on his forehead. So I said, Dad, what are you doing? So he said, oh, I'm so blessed. You have no idea what you witnessed. He said, sometimes people take many births to witness the Samadhi of such an elevated soul. And I was like, okay, Dad. And, I understand it better today where I am, my journey. And he was crying, and I was like, I couldn't understand why. I think he was just emotional. And so these were some of those, I don't know, I can't think of the words in my vocabulary to tell you really about these experiences. They kind of get etched in your memory. And from time to time, when you have struggles, mortal souls like us, we do tend to fall off the bandwagon. And then that etching surfaces. Remember the experiences. So anyway, I came back drenched in whatever experience. I was drenched, but there was not much of, again, honestly, there was not much of understanding as to deeper understanding. 2005, I started my yoga journey again, went back to training, studying. I started with the Priksha, the Jain school, Priksha meditation. I did my first 3-month yoga training there, and then I went to Cleveland and I did my training there, which is the Satyananda School of Yoga. And as I was moving along this journey, 2013, I went, Bihar School celebrated 50 years of the Golden Jubilee, and it was the World Yoga Conference. And I was given the job of translating whatever is being recorded in so many great masters. And again, that was yet another gift from the divine. So doing the translations, the transcriptions, I was writing down, and there was so much I was learning. I remember Dr. Nagendra, that was the first time that I met him, and doing his transcriptions from the Vyasa school. So I was taking it all in, time to time, it was kind of getting, depending on the call of the hour, it kind of gets again put on the back burner. But again, because it's there in your memory, in your chitta, it comes back. So the nagging thought that was behind me was that I need to get my Kriya initiation. So meanwhile, in 2019, somebody told me about, now I've come to jump to 2019 because I do want to talk about the purpose that I'm here on this platform. And today, I was kind of, I don't know exactly how to put it, like deep down inside me, I'm like, I'm not able to do my Kriya initiation. So it was a thought at the back of my mind, which would, kind of build up into a little mini vortex from time to time. So I heard about Mohanji and I was like, okay, the Himalayan School of Traditional Yoga. And what clicked with me is the School of Traditional Yoga. So meanwhile, before I got to 2019, I had started doing certifying teachers and doing the Yoga Nidra, which is a very powerful tool. Again, the modern Yoga Nidra was started by Swami Satyananda, very, very powerful tool. And that helped a lot of people. So coming back to 2019, when I first heard about Mohanji, and that was it, I said, okay. And the name stayed with me. Then my sister told me about Sri M, and she said, he's coming. You were interested in yoga Kriya initiation. He's coming to Texas. So I said, really? And I had read a couple of books of Sri M. So, and then I found out he's coming to Dallas, which is just 4 hours from Houston. So I registered. This is September. And I had also registered to do the Divine Grace Healing with Thea in Sedona. Now, at the time I found out about Mohanji, I also found out about Thea. I was introduced. And Thea came like a blessing in my life, Thea Ivy. And Thea and I attended, and my daughter attended the Guru Purnima in Atlanta with Amma Ma Karunamai. It was beautiful. That was yet another meeting, another beautiful divine soul. So now September, I had the Kriya initiation with Sri M, and October first week, I was going to Sedona for the divine grace healing. And just a week before the scheduled program with Sri M, my mom was taken to the hospital and I had to rush to India. So that was another sign. Okay. Then I came back, and I was like, I didn't think much about it. And then I went to Sedona and did the training, and it was beautiful. And I remember Thea saying to me that you will meet Mohanji when it is your time. I said, okay. And I came back, and I always go to India for 4 months, from October to February, to take care of my parents. We're 3 sisters, and we take turns. So my time is October to February. So I went home, and in my mind, I was thinking, I said, what is it? I literally had a one-on-one with God, and I said, what is this whole thing about the Kriya initiation? And, to me, it was really like a downer, like, okay, maybe I'm not ready, and why don't I accept it? Why is my ego coming in? And before I move on, one of the greatest things that I learned from my father and mother was surrender. When you don't have the answers and something that is troubling you, don't let it trouble you to a point of where it cripples your thinking. Just surrender. And my father was a big, big devotee of Devi, of Matara, who's another form of Kali. Big devotee. He always said, just as Ma wills, just as Ma wills. Even today, I remember, give it to Ma, she'll take care of it. So that's what I did. I said, okay, I'm not going to have an argument with you. This is my conversation with the divine. I said, you lead me wherever, take me, I'm surrendering. And then I think one of the girls from the group, the Sedona group, sent me Mukambika Trails, Kriya initiation with Mohanji. And I was sitting at the table with my computer, and I was like, literally, I went like this. Then all the doubts started coming in. I said, will they accept me? Will he accept me? I don't know. I mean, where it came from. So I had this little kind of a, question and answer it myself kind of a deal going on in my mind. Anyway, I filled up the form and I said everything, blah, blah, blah. And I was accepted. So there begins my journey of how I met Mohanji. And then all the excitement started. This is in November. And I said, okay. So I started looking at the meditations, and then I got a message, do the arti. I was doing the arti. And I started reading up on Mohanji's talks. And, I would stop and I said, I know him. But how do I know him? Because all that he was saying just kind of resonated so much with me. And I didn't. It was a gift. It was a blessing from the divine. But I'm being very frank. I mean, I wasn't sure. But I said, you know what? When you are in doubt, then you don't have faith. Faith is very important. And my mom has dementia. So one of us, whoever's the caretaker, we never leave her alone. She's very loved and very well taken. Sweetheart, she's a little baby now, 93. So whoever's there, we sleep next to her. So I used to listen to the arti. I used to get up like at 4:45 and listen to Mohanji's arti in the morning. And One day in my sleep, I don't dream so much. I see a big group of people, and I'm there, and Mohanji's there, and I'm sitting right next to him. And I'm looking at him like this, and then he just lifts his hand and he puts it on my head. This is in my dream. And the minute he puts his hand on my head, I crash to the ground. And in my dream, I'm struggling to get up. Why I'm saying this is because when that doubt came in, I said, yeah, I know I've been accepted. But, it's like, it's the divine. At that point, I'm thinking, Dattatreya, divine. Am I fit? This is going on in the head. Again, you surrender, but things, it's like a little tape recorder. Anyway, going back to, and I'm flat, and I'm trying to get up. And then suddenly my mother mumbles something. So now I'm out of the dream, but I still can't get up. It's like this massive boulder that's over my chest. And for, I think, at least 2 to 3 minutes, I just lay there, right next to Mama. And then, I just held her hand and she squeezed my hand. I don't know what it meant. I wasn't going to try and analyze it too much. But I was in sheer bliss. And I stayed with that bliss for a couple of days. Finally, it was time. I went 10th of December. I flew to Bangalore, and then that whole night at the hotel, I couldn't sleep. Next day, I was in Udupi. But we found out that Mohanji was not getting there till the 14th, and that was fine. And then people were trickling in, and it was, just meeting everybody. Finally, 14th of December arrived, and everybody was like, I wasn't sure, and I was saying, like, has Mohanji arrived? Has Mohanji arrived? And then I guess the people who knew what time he was coming. So suddenly everybody started hanging around in the lounge. And I thought I was the only smart one. I'm like, I'm going to just sit here and pretend and whatever, so they can get a glimpse of Mohanji. And then within 15, 20 minutes, everybody started trickling in. I guess they all had the same thought that I had. But anyway, the car comes in and Preeti gets out first, and then I see Mohanji. Wow, so cool. He was wearing jeans and he was wearing a t-shirt. And I just stood by the door and I'm looking at him. And there was something so warm about him. And why I'm saying this, why I was a little taken aback, because let me tell you, it took me, I met my Guru Swami Paramahamsa Niranjananda immediately, but I never got to see Paramahamsa Satyananda, Saraswati Satyananda ji for 4 to 5 years. Every time I went, I was given a job of Karma Yoga. It's not so easy to meet the divine or the ascended master. So when I saw Mohanji, I was like, my heart started beating. And this was again that, I resonate. And then, of course, all the people who knew him, I waited for everybody. And then I walked up to him and I kind of bent down and touched his feet. And I held his hand and I said, I'm Kalpana. And he gave me a beautiful, warm smile. So that was my first meeting with Mohanji. And then we move on to the satsangs, the first satsang. And he started talking, and then I felt all this bubbling up. And I was asking him so many questions. I remember after the satsang, somebody asked me, so, wow, so how long have you known Mohanji? I'm like, my second day, I met him yesterday. And this person, I think he was from Singapore, I can't remember. He's like, but you guys were interacting as though you have met Mohanji before and you've known him for years. I'm like, I know, I too felt like that. But I guess that is who Mohanji is. He just makes you feel like that. So then started all the trips. Of course, Mohanji didn't go to all the trips that we went to the Krishna temple, to the Ganesh temple, and the couple of, I think it was the Mukambika temple, yes. So we were 30 or 40 of us, and we were there, and it was just before evening Aarti. And then we were all waiting by the side of the temple, waiting to get into the temple. And Mohanji went across and sat on a chair and went into kind of meditation, I think. And I remember Chris Greenwood was right next to me. And, you know, I was just looking at Mohanji and the tears started coming down. I don't know why. It was a connection of like a child to a mother, I guess. And then I kept looking, and fortunately, the gates to the temple weren't open. So we were there waiting for some time. And then suddenly I see Mohanji. I'm looking and I see him as Christ and I see him as Shiva. And I literally blinked. I said, is this my imagination? I didn't know, Franz. I didn't know. And then I just turned and I looked at Chris Greenwood. He looked at me. Nothing, no words were exchanged. Nothing was said. Anyway, later that evening, we went to the restaurant for dinner. And I was still walking. Mohanji and the whole lot of people following Mohanji had already gotten into the restaurant. So we were about 3-4 of us, the last ones to get into the restaurant. And you know, you want to see Father. So I was just looking around and being tall. I just looked and I saw Mohanji, and then Mohanji just beckoned like this. So I looked around. Mohanji saying, "You, Kalpana, come here." So I was like, "Oh, he's calling me." So I went up, and the mala, beautiful. I think those were jasmine flowers, mala that the pandits in the temple had taken off from the idol, and they put it around Mohanji. So he was wearing it. He took it out and he gave it to me, and he said, "This is for you, and if you want to share it." And I just kind of fell on my knees, on his feet, and the tears. I cry very easy. And I said, I held the mala. I still have it here in my temple. And I said, "Oh, Father, I'm so overwhelmed." He said, "Oh, this is just the beginning. You'll be given a lot more." So anyway, that was beautiful. That was so beautiful. And then I went around distributing the petals to everybody. And then, of course, the sessions continued. And then this was one of the days we went down early in the morning for breakfast. And I was sitting next to Sunita Madan, and then suddenly my hand went to my ears, and I realized that I had dropped my earring. So I said, "Oh, my earring." And she said, "Don't worry about it. It's just a earring." She said, "It's okay." I said, "No, I know it's okay, but it's my mother's." So she said, "Oh, then why don't you go and look for it?" So I went back, retraced my steps, and I went into the room. As soon as I opened my door, the earring was lying there. So I was like, and the first thing I said, "Thank you, Father." And it just came to me. And then, but the back of it, the screw, I couldn't find. I looked. And I know I was wearing it. So anyway, we went on this trip and came back late in the afternoon, in the evening. And I opened my vanity case, obviously, to take a shower, brush my teeth. And I see the screw in the vanity case. And I'm like, how did it get there if it fell off? And I said, okay, no questions asked, no analyzing, test. Meanwhile, in one of those sessions when the father was done with the satsang, and as he was leaving, I went up to him and I said, Father, I would love to have a one-on-one with you. I also have a message from Thea. And he said, absolutely, of course we'll have a session. And then at this other test or a miracle, however, whoever wants to read it, however. So I was wearing these sandals, which I had bought here. They're very sturdy sandals. And I am an extensive traveler. So when I'm traveling, I like wearing good footwear. I mean, good in the sense, comfortable footwear, because I do have back issues. So anyway, so we go to the Mookambika temple. The first time, yes, this is the first trip to Mookambika temple. And then everybody left there in certain places wherever they had the stands for the shoe rack. So I go to one which is kind of more inside, away from the gate, and I left my sandals there, put them in the corner. And then we went for prasad and whatever, lunch. And then we came back and I go to the stand and my sandals are not there any longer. So, and I looked. So then Viji from Bombay was there. She said, what happened? I said, my sandals have gone. And that's it. I didn't react to it. And it was very hot. And she knew I was kind of jumping, stepping over things because my feet were burning. And she kind of looked at me like, yeah, you spoiled thing from the US, your feet are burning. So then, there were cops at the gate and I said, is there a shoe store? So then she was very sweet. She said, Kalpana, I'm used to this. You take my chappals and you go to the shoe store. So we went to the shoe store and then over there, I got these flip-flops and Viji's telling me, see, in some life you owed this man money, so now you have bought the flip-flops. So I said, probably true. So whatever, and I didn't attach much importance. So later on, when we got back to the hotel, like people were saying, and Suvitha, one of the young, very, very charming lady, she had been seeing the sandals. She said, I love your sandals when we were in the bus. So then she said, oh, Kalpana, I think maybe I eyed your sandals too much or something. And I said, it's okay. Now, the second time we went back, the second time we went back, and I was wearing my old flip-flops, and I was wearing the new flip-flops. So, and I went to the same place, and again, somehow I guess I just started looking around to see if my sandals, if someone did take them and then felt bad and left them, but I didn't see them. And then Suvita was again with me and she said, oh, make sure this pair doesn't get lost. So I just laughed. And she walked ahead and went ahead of me. And the only thought that came to my mind was, thank you for the blessings, whatever it is, I'm not going to think. And I started walking towards the dining room. And lo, behold, I look about 50 steps ahead in a remote corner. I just happened to look and I saw something familiar, and from far. And then I walked up. There's no shoe rack. It wasn't a shoe place. My sandals were there just by themselves. And I was like, oh. And I'm like, Father, you are testing me. Anyway, and then when I told, everybody was like, oh, you have to write about it. You must tell everyone. This is a miracle. And I just absorbed it all. Yes, I have to. You think it's easy to meet somebody of Father's caliber? Mere mortals like us? No. But what came to my mind, and I'm sharing this, is that not for 1 second, had this been 15 years ago, maybe I would have said, darn, why did I wear this sandal? I should have worn something else. People say when you go to temples, but I didn't. I didn't have any reaction. I said, okay, whatever. If it's meant to go, it was meant to go. So that was that. And then more satsangs, more question and answers. And it was like being elevated. And the more the connections got deeper and deeper. And then we had the Kriya initiation. I think I went into a zone of kind of emptiness, to put it. Just quiet. I just went quiet. And when Father described it in one of the iPods, or maybe he was talking about in one of these, maybe it was POP, and he was saying when he does the Kriya initiation, how he clears the path. So I think that clearing, kind of puts you in a place of you're just assimilating, rather, to use the more right, precise word. So anyway, finally, after the Kriya initiation, everybody was there, and they know he was sitting in one corner, and it's like you never get enough of him. So I went to touch his feet, and I said, thank you, Father. And he says, tonight after dinner, we'll talk. And I was like, yes, Father, definitely. So we went back, and after the satsang, he was walking, and I started walking, and he said, all right, Kalpana, come to the room. Let's go and talk. So we went up, and as we went to the room, he says, have you had dinner? So I said, no, Father. He said, let's go and have dinner together. And I was like, you bet I'm going to have dinner with you. So then I followed him, and then everybody was there. And, it was that child in me. I just went flash back into my childhood, and it was a very bubbly experience, like effervescence. I had dinner with him because don't forget, coming from Bihar School of Yoga, it took me 5 years to actually meet Swami Satyananda. So I had this bubbly kind of a thing inside me. And then Father served himself, and I served, and Devdasji was there, and Father said, I think he said, yes, I'm going to talk to her. And then we started talking, and of course, we finished dinner, and he said, are you done? Go and have some more. And then I said, no, Father. I said, no, I'm done. And then he said, okay, let's go. So then we went up to his room, and we started talking, and I started telling him everything about myself, what I was doing. And then I just asked him, I remember, I'm keeping an eye on the time. I said, Father, you tell me, why am I here? You called me. Because I know inside me it was a calling. I was being beckoned. And he said, how did you find me? So then I told him that I'd heard about you. And he said, don't come to me because somebody is telling you about Mohanji. I'm just Mohanji. So you don't come to me because somebody told you go and see Mohanji. So I had my head down like this, and I looked up at him. I said, I don't think I used the word spring chicken. I said, Father, I'm no spring chicken. Meaning, I think, I am a little beyond that. And I said, no, you called me. And I know there's a connection. His face was, he had that look, like stern look. He says, don't come to me because somebody sent you. And, but I had that confidence, that faith, because I'd already felt that connection with him. And then he gave me this, he broke into this smile. Yes, we are connected. And I was like, naughty boy, pulling my leg. So, and at that moment, I wanted to get up and hug him. So, and I did. I said, "Can I hug you?" He said, "Yes." And then we started talking. What I do, I told him about my Parkinson's Association, blah, 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 blah. And then Father said, "I want you to connect with Devi. She does yoga nidra, and then talk to Madhu." And he said, "You go to the Himalayan Institute, the school, and why don't you meet with the teachers, blah, blah, blah." And we talking and talking. And then I said, "Father, who are you?" And then I told him, "I saw you as Christ, and I saw you as Shivji." So he looked at me and he said, "I'm just Mohanji." So I was just looking at Father, and then he said, "I'm Mohanji for most people." And then he said, "Kalpana, you're very sensitive." And the next thing he said is, "Many a times a lot of people see, but many don't see." That kind of stayed with me. And then what he said is, "You see what you see." Anyway, then he was writing down, he actually called up Madhu and he said, "You get into talk to Kalpana and take up this whole yoga nidra thing, whatever, further." And then while we're talking, and this was the icing on the cake, which I really want to share, is while he's talking, the lights went off. Devdasji was in the other room. And Father is talking, and suddenly I'm looking, it's dark, with a little bit of light coming from the other room, and I see this magnificent electric violet arc all around Father. Oh, I'm just, that whole picture's come back. I didn't know what to do. I was like, it was electrifying. And then suddenly the lights came on, and I don't know what I was supposed to do. So anyway, the conversation went on, and I left the room, and I don't know where I was, moonwalking, whatever, I don't know. And I remember I was telling someone, I said, "Why did you fall on his feet?" I was like, I couldn't. I was transfixed. So anyway, we're running out of time. And I just want to say that when I met him again, I was telling him he was signing the books that I bought, and he blessed this because I told him about the healing. And he said to me, "Did I answer all your questions?" And I told him, I said, "Father, you showed me your true self." He didn't say, he just smiled. He said, "Are you happy? Are you satisfied?" And then, it hits you later. But this whole experience, it made me even more humble, friends. And I just want to say before the session ends that all the people who are new, when your time, I can't tell you how blessed we are, all of us are, just to be under his wings. What he gives us endlessly and tirelessly. All the POP, the 360, it's nothing but us releasing, getting rid of the old stuff. How can you fill up a glass that's half full of what he's giving? So whatever he's giving, we need to take it, absorb and assimilate. So it was wonderful. And I just wanted, before ending, my meeting with Mohanji, like a lot of people say, "Oh, you go from." No. My time, I hold the deepest reverence for my gurus from Bihar School of Yoga, and I'm very connected. But my time had come now to be moved forward, to be thrust up. And that's the reason the divine placed me at Mohanji's feet. And now I just leave it up to him. Wherever he pushes me, I'm ready to go. So friends, Thank you very much, and Mohanji USA. Thank you for this beautiful opportunity on this platform. And for all the newcomers, don't get impatient. Don't look for the fruits. Your biggest blessing is that you are under the wings of Mohanji. Cherish it and enjoy every drop that comes your way. All of us, we are blessed. Yes. And as something that is encouraging, we have done something right for his calling. So, friends, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity and have a wonderful day. And I would also personally like to thank Manu and Ganesh, who've been so sweet with me fretting with my technical skills. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.